goal setting or we think about like forward thinking of what we want to do better, it's the consistency that really is the key. Hello, everyone, and happy New Year's Eve. Tomorrow begins a brand new year of 2026. And didn't we have a fantastic 2025 year, Nathan?
You know, looking back, I think we did. And that's the benefit of looking back. We can actually look through the struggles and find the nuggets that made it all worthwhile. But the scary part is looking forward, isn't it?
Yes. Who knows what 2026 is going to hold for us? We hopeful it's going to be great. We might learn some more, but it's here, and isn't that awesome?
It is. You know, it's funny because a lot of times we try to connect our families with what you call community experts. And I don't think there is really an expert on how to set resolutions, but we still managed to find a few that I hope can seed some ideas for you if you're looking for resolutions for the year to come.
Really, Nathan? Who are these experts?
Well, they're our kids, Brad. And who better to learn from than our children to tell us what the next year should look like? Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of these messages. And when we come back, we'll talk about a few ways that we can make the year the best it can be.
That is so exciting. I can't wait to hear.
A goal is to do something when you grow up. My goal is to ride a bike. I have to make sure to brush my teeth every day. And my mommy and me and my mommy color together every day. I'm trying to get better at soccer and sometimes football. My goal is racing. Racing is where you run.
My goal next year is to buy games.
One of my goals next year is to not speak out loud that much, so that I'll do better in class.
Something I want to do next year is learn how to ride a skateboard better.
A goal that I have is to be able to get a job for next year. Since I'll be able to get a job, I want a job. And to be able to drive.
Skateboarding.
My New Year's resolution is to be able to do a backflip.
My goal next year is to ride a bike. What's the resolution that I have for next year? I hope that next year I can join a coding class. Oh, I also hope that next year I can start my own slime business.
A place that I want to go is probably to Great Wolf Lodge again. A goal that I want to do next year, get better at drawing.
A goal that I have for next year is to be a YouTuber. A plush collection YouTube channel. My goal next year is actually keeping my body to myself.
Try and get ahead in math and try and get the on level with reading. I would like to get better at basketball because I'm in basketball right now.
I want to go to Canada.
Probably getting my driving license this year or next year, and then trying to get a job.
My New Year's resolution is actually the release of the new Mario Galaxy movie.
My goal is to get a high score. That means I get a trophy. I want to get better at learning different languages.
Wow, Nathan, that was amazing. I learned a lot, and it's so fun to hear these kids and their goals for 2026.
You know what? Some make you laugh, some make you think, but at the end of the day, you can't help but feel inspired. What I love is they're not afraid to share what they're hoping to accomplish.
Yes, and it motivates me to make our resolutions. Now, this time of year, everybody talks about New Year's resolutions. Why is that?
Well, to me, it just feels like tomorrow. But I guess in principle, we are starting a new year, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of like to talk about the season we're coming out of. You know, the Thanksgiving to Christmas or holiday season is one of my favorites. The way I look at it is Thanksgiving's kind of a time to be grateful, to reflect, and after that, we're hopeful, looking forward to what the holidays can bring. But then we get to New Year's, and it's the unexpected. It's, well, if I'm going to set a goal for myself, Brad, if I'm being honest, it means I have to recognize something about myself I'm not happy with.
Well, and the biggest goals that most people set are fitness goals because they carry too much holiday cheer around the midsection. Just, So, folks, we know that, and we've talked this in our podcast about setting goals, right? And then we also talk about being consistent. So it is that time of year where people reflect and they think, okay, what did I do great and what can I do better?
So do we have some tips and tricks, Brad,
we
about
do.
how to set goals? Is that where we're going to go?
Yeah, and in order to set goals, I think you kind of need to know like where you're at. So I'm a statistics guy, Nate. You know that I love just studying different things.
I'm glad that as a CFO you like data, Brad.
I love numbers. So, folks, I pulled up some statistics about New Year's resolutions. So, and this is interesting because did you know that New Year's resolutions actually have a high failure rate?
I know mine have always failed, but I'm actually kind of curious. What is the general failure rate? Because I'm.
And I'm not saying we should set this up for failure, but I just find this interesting. So
let's dive in.
So, like for example, New Year's resolutions, statistically speaking, has a success rate of 25% long term. Not crazy. Or the early abandonment, most people quit on the resolution within the first week. And within the first month, 64% quit, and 81 quit by the second month.
Hang
Isn't
on.
that crazy?
So by the end of February, 8 out of every 10 give up on the resolution.
Yes. So that shows that resolutions are not as successful as we should make them. And then there's Quitter's Day. Did you hear about Quitter's Day?
No.
Quitter's Day is the second Friday in January. So folks, whatever resolution you have, make it through the second Friday of January.
And you're already in the top 20%.
Yes.
It makes me think about something, Brad, because there's two words we throw around New Year's time. We hear resolutions and we hear goals. What comes to mind when you hear those two? What differentiates a resolution from a goal?
Yeah, so like a resolution means something that you need to reconcile, I guess. I think that I need to do better at, to where a goal is forward thinking of what I want to be in the future.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I'd even say one's more broad and one's more specific.
Okay.
A resolution would be, I'm kind of resolved to do or be this. The goal would be the steps I take to get to the resolution. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I almost wonder if people are really good at setting goals, but maybe we need to talk more about the resolution, because if we're quitting in the first week or the first month or by the end of just 60 days, I question if the person was really resolved, or if they maybe just set some unrealistic goals and expectations that just set them up for failure.
Right. And I think that's what we really wanted to talk about, is putting together realistic resolutions or realistic goals. I don't know. I keep thinking about Seinfeld. Remember that Seinfeld episode where Jerry lost the reservation to his car? And the lady's like, oh yeah, I made a reservation, but she didn't keep it. And Jerry's like, anybody can make a reservation, but it's the hold.
It's the holding the reservation.
It's the holding the reservation. There is really the big thing. And that's kind of like when we talk about goal setting, or we think about like forward thinking of what we want to do better, it's the consistency that really is the key.
Yeah.
Anybody can make a goal, but how do we be consistent to that realistically that can improve our lives?
And I think I'm going to go back to that word. It's resolution. Goals are simple. I can have a goal to lose 10 pounds, but am I really resolved to lose weight?
Right.
Right. And that's what drives, I think, those that stick to their goals, or that set different goals, or that look for different paths. Resolution is, I'm focused and I'm determined to get to an end, even if the goals change. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and that's where we get into like the magic pill. A lot of people around this time, they have lifting goals. Okay. And they always go back to like, okay, well, maybe let me take a magic pill. Let me do this magic thing. When in reality, no, it's simple. Like, watch what you eat, have a good diet, and, go work out, it's really the simple thing. So if you think about like working with autism with kiddos, a lot of people think like, well, there's this magic pill, or like there's this magic program, when in reality, give yourself grace, learn from the kid's point of view, play. We talk a lot about that with play, and just be with them. And it's that consistency that can really draw you, and we call it pairing, or like connect with those kids.
Yeah. Now, Brad, you come from a background of sports, and we jokingly call you Coach Brad every now and again. So in the fitness world, I mean, Tell me what that looks like. How does somebody actually fail at a health goal?
Well, and I think really what you learn in like coaching or athletics or sports, it really is, okay, you think about it, your end result that you want to get. Okay, you think about that, and then you kind of back end it of like, how am I going to get there? But you only truly fail if you stop trying. That really is what that we teach our kids, right? Like, or like any kind of fitness or any kind of lifting, you only fail if you stop trying.
So it's a mental game.
100%. It's all mental game. You know, and don't look at YouTube. Don't compare yourself to other people. That's like the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to somebody else. You got to look at yourself, know what you are, accept who you are. Like, you know, Nate, I'm 5'10". I'm never going to play in the NBA. There's no way. I don't have the height. I don't have the jump. Why should I even compare myself to that? But I know who I am, and I know what I'm really good at, and that's where you need to stay. That's where I find my success is I know in fitness that you want to be consistent, know what you're at, know what you want to be good at, and just keep moving forward. And you only lose if you stop trying.
See, and I love that mentality because it really the whole point of goals then is not just, hey, it's the new year, it's time to set them. Maybe the point of the new year, instead of setting goals and just picking some arbitrary 10-pound or whatever the physical goal is, maybe instead we take it as a chance to reflect and go, what is it that I want to achieve? What is it about myself that I'm resolved to be or do? And instead of a goal being, I don't like this thing, so I'm trying to fix something that I don't like, which already has some negative energy to it, switch it around to, who am I? And what am I going to accomplish? And what are the goals that can then get me to it?
Well, one thing I love about that mentality, if you think like, okay, this is what I'm not good at, you're already starting with negative energy.
Right.
Okay. And what happens if you say, I'm not going to do this? What are you going to do? You're going to do it. If you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to eat this, like again, going to fitness, if I'm not going to eat this cookie, what are you going to do? You're going to eat the cookie.
Because I'm thinking about cookies.
Exactly. So rather than that, you replace it with something positive. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to eat this because it makes me feel good. And I don't feel bloated. I don't have heartburn. I don't feel like I'm overweight. Like I feel good. That's why I choose this action. So it's really the redirecting that is really, really key.
Yeah. You know, I just am playing with that because really the underlying resolution then, for example, of a weight loss goal is I'm resolved that health is important to me. Health matters to me. Because if that statement is true, if I can get across that bridge, then the actions I take are going to reflect health matters to me. Mm-hmm. But if I start the game with other people tell me health should matter to me, and then I set goals, well, I'm going to quit really quick because I never was resolved that it actually did matter.
Again, going back to that resolution.
Right.
And so like, you know, like a goal that I have this year, if I can get personal, is like last year I ran the Mesa Marathon. And the goal is just to get through it. And I'm not a big runner. I did it because it's a challenge. I've never ran a marathon before. And so I signed up and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to train the best I could. And they have training programs and you can follow them. And people get trainers and they get really into it. And I respect all that. But I just did the very best I could. You know, I'm a father of 6, run a business. I'm just going to do the best I can. And so I ran it and I did okay. And so now this year I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to see if I can run it in less time. You know, and just keeping that and just being consistent.
So hang on, I'm gonna challenge you for a second, right? So then what's the resolution, Brad? What in you is different that made it so that goal could survive and thrive?
You know, that's a good question. I would just say that I always appreciate a challenge. I like challenging myself. And I think it's good to push yourself. Even if, like, I don't need to look at what other people do, but it's something internal that I like to do myself.
Okay, so there it is. So, Brad, you are resolved that you think there is value in pushing through challenges. Mm-hmm. Right. And maybe this time it was a marathon, but maybe tomorrow it's going to be a Tough Mudder or right. So that I think there's a real nugget of wisdom here that before we set a goal, we first have to ask ourselves, what are we resolved to do and to be?
Right.
And that's a little bit of a level of introspection before we even talk about what's going to happen next.
Well, and I want to shift that a little bit about connection. So like, how can we make these type of goals? So to take away from fitness, and let's apply that to people. And is there somebody there in your life that you can have better connections with? And what struggles or what do you need to do to have that consistency to make that better connection.
Oh, that's a great way of thinking. It shifts the dynamic, right? Instead of just saying, what are my benchmark things? It's who do I want to be? What kind of a person am I? And what matters to me? And maybe that's a good starting point. What matters to you?
Mm-hmm. And maybe that should be the New Year's resolution. What matters to me?
Yeah. Who am I resolved to be?
Right. Exactly. And I think that is, it's kind of hard to measure. That's why we probably don't see that as much, because people like measurable goals. Like, hey, I ran a mile from, rather than 8 minutes, now I'm at 7.5 minutes, to now, okay, I have a better relationship. Because a lot of this podcast is we want to connect our families with industry experts. And that's really big. That was a big thing for us when we started this.
Absolutely.
We wanted to be with the best of the best. Well, now that we have this, we've had multiple episodes. We'll have more that comes along. What can I do with this? How can I implement this to connect better with friends and families around me?
Yeah, and it's also the story aspect, Brad. I mean, there's power in connection. There's power in hearing different points of view, and whether you're parenting a special needs child or just parenting in general, it requires a degree of resilience. Mm-hmm. And if there's a common thread, and now I'm reflecting, right? I'm looking back through 2025 since we started this podcast journey, and a theme that keeps coming up is flexible resilience. It's allowing ourselves the grace to move through our mistakes to the successes.
And I love that flexible. So like when you write a resolution, sometimes it's so much in pen to where it should be maybe in pencil, right?
Right.
Okay. So like those flexible resolutions or the adaptivity that we need to take in our lives is more important than, oh, I failed at this benchmark.
Yeah. I mean, we teach our students the principle of fail forward, right? That failure is just another step of progression. And sometimes we lose sight of that, where if we don't hit the expectation or the benchmark, we quit. Well, who set the benchmark? We did, right? And there's power in understanding that we set our own experience of success or failure. And given that 80% give up in 2 months, it makes me ask the question, why do 8 out of 10 of us prefer to set ourselves up for failure rather than set ourselves up for success?
Right. Well, and then we talk about doing that with our kids, right? We set this up with this expectation that we want our kids to be, and we learn that now we just set ourselves to be 80% failure.
Well, there's a question, right? If we're doing it to ourselves, are we doing it to others?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that should be our message, right, for the new year. Maybe that's the resolution, to set ourselves more to where we have 100% of success rather than 80% of failure.
I like that, Brad. I think I'm resolved that failure is not an option. And I know that's a movie quote, but there's wisdom in every challenge, right? And where somebody might say it is a failure, we still come out of it stronger and better than when we started. There is no failure unless you decide that it was a failure. One
of my favorite quotes about that, I forgot where I learned it from, so sorry, I can't give you credit. So I'll take the credit. If you do something right, you double down on it. If you do something wrong, you're learning. And I think that's really impactful. That's helped me out a lot in life. That if I fail, it's not that I'm a failure. No, I'm learning. I'm adapting. I'm going to be more flexible. There's something there that I got to be better at, and that's okay. I'm going to learn from it, and we're going to move forward.
Well, and in a society where we're so focused on results, we are a very results-driven group. I mean, we tend to like to compare ourselves to others on social media and benchmark what we have versus others, and that's all metrics. We choose metrics of success with finance, with health, with achievement, with family and I mean, I think we're competitive by nature as a society, at least in our culture, and really, I think that's the part that needs to shift.
Well, and I think it's good to be competitive. Like, you want to be competitive. Like, it's, again, me being the sports guy, right? It's great to be competitive. But then I think it's also important to give yourself grace and look back at the journey that it took you to get there.
Yeah, better said.
Like, I think that it's, we think about the end result, which is important. I get that. You got to win the Super Bowl. But look at the growth and development it took you to get to that point and celebrate that. That should be just as celebrated as winning the championship, right? So for all of our folks and families out there, like, I know it's hard, and I speak this because I live it every day too, and I know it's tough for me to recognize this, is like appreciate the journey. And it's so hard to do that. Why is it so hard to appreciate the journey?
Because it's scary, right? And because I think we chart for ourselves what we think the journey should be. When somebody changes that journey, it's hard for us to accept it. And it's ironic because, autism is a theme we bring up a lot on the show, and we talk about how that community can sometimes be very inflexible, how they like, predictability. And I don't think that's limited to just that population. I think we all like predictability. We all like to be able to think we're in control of what happens. But there's a beauty in accepting the chaos.
Yes.
Because for as much as we like predictability, it doesn't allow room for unexpected surprises. I share the phrase, I kind of like when we confront a problem that seems insurmountable, because without those kind of problems, you leave no room for miracles. And so the attitude of approaching a new year, it can be scary and daunting. Maybe just the advice I'd have for any parent is choose an expectation that allows for success. And before you set any goals, reflect first on the kind of person you're resolved to be. Start with the resolution. There's wisdom in determining what are my guiding values. And within that, you can find success through whatever goals you change, modify, fail at, push through, and revisit it to fit your resolution.
I love it, man. That's empowering. That's empowering. Let's, folks, Happy New Year. Let's take all this information. Let's make 2026 the best year ever, and give ourselves some grace. Reflect of who you want to be as an individual, and let's go do some good. I love that we've kind of coined that phrase here on the podcast. Let's do some good. So I that's going to be kind of my resolution for the year. Let's do some good. Whatever we can do, let's just do it better. Let's go out there and reach out and empower those around us. Happy New Year, Nathan.
Well, Happy New Year, Brad. I love it.
All right. Well, that's our episode here for the Polaris Connection. Please subscribe and follow us, and share this social media, share this podcast to anybody out there in our social media. Thank you, Jesse, our wonderful producer. Happy New Year to Dallin Davis, our wonderful marketing director. And everybody, let's go do some good.